assistant director basically at a place before I started doing my own company. But I was there and I was kind of like, I could do this. I'm just going to do an application. And that's one of those spurts again where I just had this epiphany or something. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do it. And I just did the application and I sent it off. And this was right before me and my friends were going on a trip to Puerto Rico. So I mailed the application off and then we went off to Puerto Rico. And I really didn't think too much about it. So I was like, yeah, I don't know what inspired me to do it. I just wanted to do it.
Like
And
your
I
own
kind of had
business.
this, huh?
Run your own business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And start, yeah, and do the agency. So, with Medicaid, you have to do an application and go through that whole process and everything. So I started the application process in May or something. And maybe by August, it was approved and we were kind of ready to go. And things just kind of fell into place with, funding and money. And, it was 2010. And so by the time my current employer found out that I would start my own provider agency, they politely asked me to leave.
Ooh.
And so I was escorted out. I probably never told you this part.
No, I don't
But
think so.
it wasn't like a bad thing. It was just kind of like that was their process. So they sent this little guy. I guess he was supposed to be security. He was shorter than you, and so he had come to escort me. I was like, "Can you gonna carry the box, or you just gonna walk with me? Like, what are we doing here?" But I mean, so I
Keep
left
keep
there,
in
and we were
mind, chat, that this guy is what, six what?
6'5". Yeah.
6'5". I'm 5'9", so he's talking about the guy that's security is shorter than me, trying to escort him out. I can only imagine someone my size just trying to come. Dale, we
Well,
gotta go.
it was just funny. Like the whole scene of it was really weird. So my direct boss, was like freaking out because she was like, I didn't tell her and she didn't know. And I think she wanted to do the same thing, but she was kind of unorganized and really wasn't able to pull it together. And I did.
Right.
And so I started it. And it was just me. Like it was literally just me and this idea. And there was a close friend of mine that we had been talking about doing it together, but he was still working somewhere else. And so we kind of waited until I could afford to do it, bring him on full time. So I remember getting like the first three clients and finally like getting him to come on. And at the end of 2010, so by this time, I started the company. It wasn't a lot of money coming in. I'm not really sure how I survived with no money because I think I was on unemployment. I think that's what it might have been. So I was just kind of scraping by. My mom was still alive, so I was helping her pay her bills, and I never really told her that I didn't have any money because I was starting my business. She knew I didn't. I was starting my own business, but I didn't really go into detail.
Yeah.
And so I went to this meeting one day with the county people, county officials, or whatever, and the lady was like, "Oh, how much money do you need to help you get started?" And I was like, maybe 30,000. And she was like, "Okay." I
And she just
was like,
she just
"Damn,
was
I should
like,
have said 50."
yeah, she
Like
was just like,
and
go
so with
for
this,
it.
yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of politics. It was Philadelphia. I was the first person or agency to apply to do supports coordination in the state of Pennsylvania, because before then, each county had a contract process where they selected the agency themselves. But when they opened it up to application process, anybody could do it.
Right.
So I was the first agency to ever do it. So the state didn't even really know how to process all of this stuff. So me, it was like, all right, well, what form do you need? What system do you need to be in? What computer system are you? How do you set up billing? Like it was a whole lot of stuff to get started. And of course, me being the kind of person
Is
I am,
there
I was kind of helping them figure it out along the way. So
well, is there any advice that you'd give to somebody that's like a future entrepreneur or somebody that was starting their own business? Like, is there one mistake that you wish that someone starting their own business would not repeat? Or one mistake that you thought was just like, you know what, fuck, here's save you some time, learn from this.
I would be careful who you hire.
Really.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you really need to the people that you bring in and the people that you know you share your idea with, your passion with. You really have to be careful.
Yeah. So far
That's such a dangerous thing.
I've noticed managing personal relationships in especially like a business oriented facility or a business contract can be very challenging to navigate.
I mean, when we first met, my conversation with you and kind of my reluctance, I guess, or I don't know what the word is for it. I'm sure you have a word for it, but you know how when we first met, I was kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna, how this is gonna work.
Right.
I don't know if I want to do this again. Like I had planned on being just me doing this, and I really wasn't expecting to have, a colleague or a coworker or anything like that or a team. I just wanted to do it on my own. So
I completely understand.
but
And
here we are now. What, a year and a half, 2 years?
I know I made it. I made it, bro.
We're not at 2 years yet, are we? It hasn't been two
No,
years
no,
yet.
2 years will be in August.
Yeah, so it's something like. But I mean, that's probably a year and a half longer than I thought it would probably work. And
Hey,
it wasn't necessarily you. I thought I just was so, jaded from the previous experience. I didn't,
I'm glad I've exceeded some expectations.
that's
I'm
not quite what I meant, but okay, we go with that too.
we'll stick with it,
That's
all
not what
right?
I'm
That's
talking
what I
about me.
think you
Yeah,
meant.
I exceeded expectations, but if you
That's
want to, throw yourself in there too, hey,
I'm
it's
going
room
to,
for.
man. I just want to make sure that everything on my part is as good as it can be.
I mean, we're learning together. I guess. I mean, I'm learning, to kind of trust my instinct in a certain way, and not to trust my instinct in other ways. But I mean, somebody who really wants to do a business. I mean, I tell you this all the time. Like it'll be easy if it's something that you're passionate about.
Right.
It won't be hard work. You won't consider it challenging or boring or anything like that because it's something you want to do.
There we
So,
go. So,
I mean, that kind of goes into kind of a conversation that we had. Like, I guess when we first met, we were talking about, how do you find out what you want to do? It's like, well, if it comes easy to you and if you're interested in it, you'll find the time and energy and the effort to put towards it,
that's what
whether you
I
have to learn something new.
that's what I found out from doing this podcast, especially is, when you have like a hobby or an interest in really pursuing it, the energy that comes from it kind of motivates you. So when you have, I mean, we're gonna skip our conversation yesterday that we had. So, but the energy that we have with our interests or what we find important to us will motivate you. So it's really important to find things that, like you said, interest or intrigue you the most.
I mean, because you and I had some very interesting conversation when we first started working together. I don't know how much you appreciated it. You probably thought it was kind of strange or crass or whatever, but
I liked it, man. It helped me
it
kind of
was
evolve a
different.
little bit. Jordan says something. People with work ethic is hard to find.
Definitely.
Yeah,
And people who can maintain it. Like people start out with work ethic, first 30, 60, 90 days.
it's that
Then after
impressing
that, they're
phase.
kind of like,
Yeah.
they're in now. And then they start saying, well, I'm showing up every day, so I deserve a 10% raise. It's like,
Well,
really, you're kind of doing the minimum.
well, that's kind of how it is
So
with like relationships in general, don't you think? Like people in
it's
general.
exactly how it is in relationships. And thank God we're not talking about that today, are we?
Hey man, but no, for real though. Like people assume that work relationships can be different than personal relationships, which
No,
true. You
it's all
should,
the same.
yeah, they can be if you set up the boundaries correctly. But in
Well, if you're
general,
dealing with human beings, you have the human psychology and all the aspects of that. You're just bringing it to a different environment, but it's the same. I mean, if you're insecure or if you're whatever your issue is, or if you're OCD or whatever it is, you're going to bring that to work just like you would into a relationship,
right?
any other relationship. So it's I've met some interesting people. I'm like, man, it was eye opening for me. I mean, because I was thinking, oh, we're growing and we're doing all this stuff, and we had like 40 employees, and it was like an insane asylum. At some points, it was like, man, this person really, really just out there. So I mean, when you get around that many people, and you've worked in some environments, small and probably
Oh
larger
my
ones,
gosh, yeah,
where it's
yeah,
kind of like
yeah.
you just all these people. It's like it makes you nervous to be around. It made me gun shy being around people because it was like are nuts. I'm probably a little nuts too, and you mix that together, and it's not a good combination.
Well, one of the hardest parts is like trying to improve an organization that doesn't want to improve, or improve an environment or a culture that doesn't want to improve. So we've had this experience with some of the people that we work with, and obviously not going to get into any names, but
Yeah.
um, it's challenging when you're trying to come in with your bright ideas or new ideas. Let's just say new ideas, and the people that you want to kind of give them to I guess work on or improve with, they just kind of are like whatever, and they don't want to do anything with it.
That's because people don't change,
Yeah,
you know, external. They change because they want to change. So, I
really.
mean, you can motivate them to kind of examine themselves, or an organization, you can motivate them to examine themselves and then say, okay, we'll let you do what it is we need to do, or I'll make the change, or they'll just resist you the whole time.
Yeah.
It's probably a defense mechanism. I'm sure you have some author or some, philosopher you want to quote and
Well,
say,
well, see, that's the problem I'm trying to work at, is trying to see how we can motivate people, especially in our business, since we're dealing with like Medicaid and Medicare and dealing with personal care or caregiving in general. I'm trying to figure out how we can motivate people in the environment to
I think
actually
I did one of my papers for my master's program on that,
really.
innovation or organizational change or something like that. I'm
What
sure I did.
conclusion did you come to?
We're screwed.